Hello, good morning. I return back with this edition to pay tribute to the late Frederick William Deklerk, who had a contentious legacy, but also laid a base for democratic South Africa, where all, regardless of race and color, live together in harmony and get equal opportunity. Of course, one can say this may not yet be achieved at its full realm, but hope it will in the future. Before we go further, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. Let's start with the excerpt from his last words. President Deklerk was known to be an apologist for apartheid and at times somehow found playing down the seriousness of apartheid to be treated or classified as crime against humanity. That's why his legacy considered as bright as well as gloomy. In his presidential tenure from 1989 to 1994, President William Deklerk has done the following remarkable reforms and won some prize. It was on September 1989 he officially elected as South Africa's state president, and on December the same year he started talks with the African National Congress leader Nelson Mandela at prison. Few years back, around 1987, Mandela's African National Congress began to accept that there would not be an armed revolutionary victory, that there would have to be negotiations. Encouraged by this, on the 2nd February 1990, Deklerk lifted the ban levied by his government against the political parties such as the African National Congress, the South African Communist Party, and the Pan-African Congress. And finally, on 11th February, Nelson Mandela released from prison after 27 years of detention. In 1991, his government took additional measures by passing legislation that repealed racially discriminatory laws affecting residence, education, public amenities, and health care in South Africa. A year after his arduous effort, valued by 69% of white voters, endorsing his reform policy, he shared the 1993 Peace Prize laureate with his former prisoner, Nelson Mandela, for systematically dismantling the apartheid regime and jointly worked to peacefully transform South Africa from apartheid to nationwide suffrage. The argument here is that Deklerk was a political opportunist. He was an ardent supporter of apartheid, and had it not been for the events followed in the late 80s and early 90s, like the end of the Cold War and sanction pressures against his party and government from the international community, the conservative Afrikaner Frederick William Deklerk might not resort to negotiation with the black majority and previously subjugated racial groups. Well, it might be true, but let's see the challenges also his ruling party and government faced by putting ourselves on their shoe in the 1980s and early 90s. Until the mid-50s, colonialism was still shockingly the rule that South African segregation policies brought little criticism. But soon, the idea of national self-determination and racial self-discrimination promoted by the Soviet bloc led quite quickly to the emergence of liberation movements throughout Africa and Asia, which made the tide of imperialism receded. Newly independent Africa and Asian countries saw South Africa as a painful reminder of their subjugation by their white rulers, which outcasted the South African Union as a condemned people and nation. The European countries, you can say the whole Western states, want to detach themselves from their colonial past and start criticizing the apartheid policy because they found this the easiest way to get respect and curry favor with their former colonies. It was obvious if a one-man, one-vote dispensation gets real, the right of minority white South Africans may not passively be maintained as it was then, and fear evoked that made the whites in power alter on this issue. The other concern was the communist influence in the African National Congress, which represent the black majority. Virtually almost all members of the African National Congress and those who sat on key posts, including its armed wing, were infiltrated by the South African Communist Party, and had there been made any reconciliation there and then with the African National Congress, the chance that South Africa became a communist state is highly likely, which the Western couldn't let it happen so easily. So, somehow, the Western nations implicitly gave their tacit support for the South African government on the proxy war with Angola. Angola war looks like somehow unique, where the African National Congress rebels alongside with the Cuban forces supported by the Soviet Union, allied with Jose Eduardo dos Santos' Angola government, fighting against South African minority-ruled government forces, which invaded the southern part of Angola in support of the Angola rebel group, UNITA's Jonas Savimbi. One more thing that should be noted here is most independent African states, even today, has a problem to instigate democratization and good governance. Well, South Africa is no different. Bringing the African National Congress to power before the mid-80s could have been achieved only after a devastating racial chaos. And to avoid that, or that kind of tyranny, which seen in other African countries like you can say Liberia, Somalia, and Rwanda, a kind of negotiation, a deeply, thoroughly negotiated one, with a majority black, colored, and Asian or Indians, which comprised the designated racial group in South Africa, was essential and necessary. Time in this regard was a factor, which luckily Deklerk and his government had abundantly, with exception. The outcome of the negotiation and the constructed constitution at the end has served the white minorities well. After the 1994 election, which made Nelson Mandela the first black South African president, Frederick William Deklerk continued as his vice till 1996, and a year later he retired himself from politics. Deklerk grew up in a political family. He had an outstanding academic record at Krugersdorp High School and graduated with honor from Potchefstroom University with Business Administration and LLB in Law in 1958 at the age of 22. Both his father and grandfather served at high office in South Africa. Following their footsteps after practicing for more than 10 years as an attorney in Vereniging, he elected Member of Parliament of Vereniging in 1972, representing the National Party. In 1975, he became Information Officer of the Transvaal National Party. He served several ministerial portfolios then after. Postal, Communication, Sport and Recreation from 1978 to 1979, Mine, Energy and Environmental Planning from 1979 to 1980, Mineral and Energy Affairs Minister from 1980 to 1982, which at this time he also became the Transvaal National Party leader. From 1982 to 1985, he also served as Minister of Home Affairs, and by this time he ascended to Chairman of the Ministers' Council in the House of Assembly, where a year later, in 1986, he earned the House Leader position. In his last ministerial tenure, he spent Minister of National Education and Planning, that is from 1985 to 1989. In February 1989, after Peter William Botha resigned as leader of the National Party, he succeeded him, and on September 1989, he elected the South Africa State President. Frederick William Deklerk, the last white person to lead South Africa as a president, died at age 85 on November 11, 2021 due to mesothelioma, a cancer that affects the lining of the lung. He survived by his wife, daughter, son and grandchildren. May he rest in peace. As a conclusion, let me add his last wish and remarks he made by a video.
Together with most other South Africans, I'm proud of our Constitution. The Constitution which we hammered out in the negotiations which started in 1990 and which culminated in the final Constitution of 1996. I fully associate myself with the values and principles enshrined in our Constitution, and I'm deeply concerned about the undermining of many aspects of the Constitution which we perceive almost day to day. It is my plea that the government, all parties, civil society, and all South Africans should once again embrace the Constitution and interpret it in the balanced way which the Constitution demands. We need to align the principles of non-racialism and non-discrimination with the need to deal with the past and issues like affirmative action. We need to guard over the independence and the impartiality of our courts. We need to promote economic growth and job creation by basing economic policies on the principles contained in the Constitution and not on ideologies which militate against the Constitution. We need to make the Constitution the cornerstone of the new society we are building. The road forward is a difficult one, but I firmly believe that if we take hands, and if all the reasonable people in South Africa put their heads together, we can overcome the challenges we face, and we can fulfill the tremendous potential that South Africa has. May the South African nation show the courage and the ingenuity to achieve this.
Okay, this is what I have for today. Of course, it is too late to prepare this video and release almost 5 days now. But President Deklerk has long been my favorite person, as Nelson Mandela is my mentor as well. So I can say the path he goes along to transform the South Africa's gloomy fate into bright future is for me personally a remarkable one, and I believe he deserves a respect. What do we expect from him? As a human person, he apologized and he requests forgiveness for the misdeeds his government has done in the apartheid regime. Well, what do you think? I'm waiting for your comments, and please don't forget to subscribe and share and like if you find this video interesting. Thank you very much. Till next time, bye from now. Love you all. Bless you.